Welcome to the second episode of the HIVE MINDS Podcast. I'm Dorklina and I'm here with my co-hosts Liss and MizuMing. And today we are going to talk about all Mindflayer related. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. We would very much appreciate that, so more people can listen to us ramble about Baldurs Gate, because that's what we love to do. The podcasts are always uploaded once a month, so you don't want to miss out on it.
We're talking about Mindflirt. Okay. I'm so glad that this is a podcast medium where I have to speak like a normal human being.
And it's so great that Lena can just edit this part out.
Yeah.
Why would she do that when she could embarrass us? Anyway, well, today we're talking about Mindflayers, and so, we'll talk about just the normal things, basic things about basic Mindflayers that everybody should know in the D&D world, and then we'll talk about them in the Baldurs Gate 3 world.
Yeah. So, first I will start with some of my points, then Liz will take over, and at the end, Mizu will say or something about Mindflayers as well, and then, we will go over to talk about the Baldurs Gate 3 Mindflayers. So, my information is mostly from the Forgotten Realms wiki, so just so you guys know. So the first question that I'm going to answer is, what is a Mindflayer? Mindflayers are also called Illithids or Geich by the Githyanki, and I'm going to read a little quote here. They are described as sadistic aberrations feared by sentient creatures on many worlds, I wrote many worlds twice, great, across the multiverse due to their powerful psionic abilities. Their height, weight, and build is comparable to thin humans, though they kind of look like a gruesome mockery of them. They have very soft and moist and rubbery skin, which doesn't sound very nice.
Delicious.
Right? Their color of their skin can range from a mauve to a greenish violet. And healthy Mindflayers who have a very nice rich diet excrete a thin film of slimy glistening mucus, and it has a very faint smell apparently of onions, garlic, or vanilla. And I have to say, vanilla sounds the nicest of all these smells.
Agreed.
And their blood is a silver white color, which I tried to look up in the game and see if we can see some blood, but I couldn't see it, so just wanted to note that here. Their heads look like bulging and ridged, enlarged heads, and they kind of can remind of an octopus with a cluster of 4 flexible, unsegmented, extendable purplish black tentacles that surround their mouths. And their mouths are like jawless circles with many teeth. And some are depicted with beaks, but in the D&D world, they don't actually have beaks, they have multiple teeth. And very interestingly, their eyes are sheltered by brow ridges and were uniformly pale and devoid of pupils. So they have no pupils, and their eyes are bloated and featureless. It kind of they have a solid white color, and again, they have no pupils, and they kind of are like these fish that live really low in the sea and have very scary eyes. And they are also very sun sensitive and can see 15 feet ahead of them if they are in the sunlight. So they have disadvantage when they are in the sun. Just very interesting. Then my next question is, what do Mindflayers do? They see themselves as multiversal caretakers, and they see themselves as superior than other races. They think that other races have no supervision, they living out aimless existences and working with no direction. So they are constantly working for what they think would be the betterment of the cosmos and asserting their ultimate control to provide the restoration of order that only their superior species could bestow to all the universes. They kind of feel like acting this out would heal the universe, and they see great importance in that task. And they think they are on top of the food chain, and like every other race is beneath them, and they're like the superior race. And all the other creatures are inferior to them and only have 3 purposes. They are good for food, for slaves, and being vessels for them. And they are even, the Mindflayers are even grateful for them, and they feel like if they use them as food, they feel like that's a gift to those creatures. They consume them. They have to dominate, not only to achieve their goals, but to fulfill their certain basic needs of their own. Because if they don't have a mind to control, they feel incomplete. So they're always for the lookout for new minds to just play with. Like cats, kind of. They are also making thralls, which are these are creatures, mostly like less intelligent creatures, like ogres, for example, that have no willpower of their own anymore to break free, or not enough to break free from them. And they use them kind of as companions, kind of like pets, and have even intimate relationships with them. And if their thralls die, Mindflayers can become very sad because they kind of got attached to them, which is kind of fucked up, honestly. And these thralls have no memories. They, again, have not enough willpower to break free, and they're kind of like just mindless drones. So, all in all, what Mindflayers strive for is they want world domination. They want, or they think their purpose is to master all the universes and ruling over all the planes in existence. And they want to reshape reality to fit their otherworldly designs. And they also try, or there are like stories for them to try and take down the sun, because they are so sun sensitive and they have disadvantage in the sun. So they want to take out the sun so that they can just freely go and dominate all these worlds who have suns, or which have suns, and just have an easier time dominating these planes. And for their personalities, it plays a lot into their ideologies of dominating every plane there is. So they're extreme, and cut me some slack here, okay? English is not my first language. I'm gonna butcher this word. Megalomaniacal. Yes.
That's close enough, yeah.
Megalomaniacal. Oh my god. And they are like tyrants driven by immense ambition. They're intrinsically ruled by overwhelming sense of self-importance. They're really arrogant. They don't believe that they are horrible monsters, but they believe that they're meant to cleanse the universe, that they're, the superior race. They're incredibly intelligent beings, and every one of them is an individual with different ideas on how to reach their ideologies. And all of these different ideas, there are some who are like really wild ideas how to dominate the universe, and some are even, they don't really make sense. But they know that even though they know that every mind flayer has to bring in as much knowledge and experiences in as possible. And because they are so individualistic, they are hesitant to work as a team. And they're also really competitive. So they compete to succeed. Though this competitiveness also serves the group as a whole. And all mind flayers know and recognize that. So even though they are very individualistic, they still kind of work into that team mind in a way, trying to reach the same goal. They emphasize order a lot, and they are also very innovative. So they search for, or they have a lot of unique solutions to their problems, which also leads to them having immense creativity. And they're also extremely cunning. They think that knowledge is power, so they have also an extreme thirst for knowledge. And even though they seem very emotionless on the outside, they have a variety, they have a big spectrum of emotions, and they feel them very intensely, but they try to be emotionless and dismiss basal emotions, and have a very pragmatic outlook, because, like, for example, they think pride is a fatal flaw, and they internalize their emotions. But even though they have a big spectrum, most of their emotions are very negative, like, for example, anger, hate, fear, shame, envy, abhorrence, sadness, and they don't know a sense of true happiness. So they only have very negative emotions, which, I mean, sucks for them. And they are mostly just cruel, cold, and wholly evil. And there's just very, very, very few mind flayers that became neutral, and even less, and it's more rare that a mind flayer can become good aligned. And that's it from me.
Okay, well, thank you for all that wonderful information. I'm going to dive into a few different things, which are mostly where do mind flayers live, / a little bit of their history, because that kind of plays into where they live. I'll talk about their reproduction and life cycle, and I'll talk about what an elder brain is. So the first thing is, where do mind flayers live? Currently, most of them live when they're here on our material plane, they live in the Underdark. Originally, their first city in the Underdark was Orendal, which I'm pretty sure was in the Lower Dark, because most of them live preferably in the Lower Dark. They definitely live in colonies. Solitary mind flayers are actually considered exiles, because their whole point is to live together and perpetuate their society. The most recent city that I could find in doing some research was called like Chichidal is how I'm pretty sure it was pronounced, and that was like their most recent largest city in the Underdark. Orendal was very tragically destroyed. But they still live in like places in like the astral and ethereal planes, but those are normally going to be like, they're going to be there like on their nautiloids as opposed to having a city the way they do in the Underdark, the material plane. As far as where they lived in the past and things like that, no one really knows where Mindflayers originated. There's a few different theories, the first of which is like, you know, they're a mutant breed of humans, but that's like widely dismissed by most quote-unquote historians in the D&D world. The other two more likely origins are one that they came from the far realm, which is just described as an alien place that like creates and warps things into existence. So they could have come from there and were something originally and were warped into what they are now as Mindflayers, or they were just created there as Mindflayers. Another option is that they are aliens from the very, very, very far future, which I think is just so fascinating. Basically, it's like they came from the future to try and stop their extinction, so they used a spell to like come back in time. All of these, I saw something basically saying that like aboleths remember everything, and so these two play more into the fact that like the aboleths don't even remember where Mindflayers came from. But then just like one interesting little different like I guess special case is a bunch of Mindflayers went to the far realm, and when they returned they had like vastly different biology, like their bodies were changed, their abilities were changed, and things like that, and they worshipped an entity named Thune. Nobody really knows anything about Thune. They don't know if they created it or anything like that, but Thune changed them, and their worship of Thune affected their lives. My next point that I will talk about is Mindflayer reproduction. I guess the biggest first part of this is that Mindflayers are genderless. There is no male, female, or anything else like that. Each one can lay like anywhere between 1 to 3 clutches of eggs in their lives, and there's like 1,000 eggs per clutch, if I recall correctly. And then the tadpoles hatch from the egg. Sorry, the dog is staring at me so hard right now. I just looked over and now we're making eye contact. I don't know what she wants. But anyway, so about 1,000 tadpoles hatch from each clutch, and they are kept in the tank with the elder brain, and they're fed brains, but they also feed on each other in kind of like a survival of the fittest way. Most tadpole, and also sometimes the elder brain eats them, just, you know, just cuz. Most of the tadpoles don't make it the 10 years that's required for a tadpole to go from hatching to like being a mature tadpole. Because of, you know, the cannibalism and the elder brain eating them. So I think it was like 1% of tadpoles actually make it to that tadpole maturity, which then they are inserted through the eye into a body of a humanoid. Preferably a human, but they'll also go with like elves and dwarves. Or not dwarves, elves, orcs, and basically humanoids that are built more like humans. And then, as we all know, if we've played, at least, if we've listened to Blazel or Gale talk about ceramorphosis, once the tadpoles are inserted into the eye of this host, that host undergoes ceramorphosis, which just takes a few days, and they basically turn into a Mindflayer and lose everything there was about their old past life. It takes about 21 years from that point of like the end of ceramorphosis to becoming a mature mind flayer. And then mind flayers live for like 125, 130 years. And once they die, their brains are removed and then fed to the elder brain, which is a perfect segue into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the elder brain. Or what elder brains are. I guess not the elder brain. There's more than one. But basically, an elder brain is like the final life cycle stage for the mind flayers. It's normally originally created from like just a few mind flayers fusing their brains together. But it grows and grows and grows the more brains that are added to it. And one thing that mind flayer like higher ups keep from the average mind flayers is that when their brains are fed to this elder brain, they lose their personality and their consciousness. The brain just keeps their knowledge and ideals. But these brains are like effectively the leaders of the mind flayer society. They make all the big decisions. They, the hive mind, because it is all of the minds together. They can communicate with the other mind flayers around them and everything. And tend to make all the big decisions and everything like that. So basically, mind flayer goes through its whole life cycle, brain gets fed to the elder brain, and we start the process all over again. And actually, it's a huge like slight and dishonor to a mind flayer if their brain does not get fed to the elder brain at the end of their life. The more you know. Yeah, so that's all of my notes. I tried to be concise but informative, so there you go.
Are there any more talking points for your
Nope. Those are all of mine. I am done.
All right. Well, then I have 3 as well. I will start with psionics. Basically, for psionics, what most people in the Forgotten Realms would use for magic, mind flayers can do simply with their minds. And there are several spells that people can cast normally that they can just do innately through sheer force of will and brain power, like telekinesis or levitation, invisibility, those sorts of things. And there are some who can use arcane powers, but they are generally shunned from the main part of the population. And in a similar vein to psionics, monks who use ki do something similar with the energies in their bodies. But everything that they do is just purely through mental focus and the expenditure of those types of psychic energies. It's kind of interesting. There is, between Lae'zel and Astarion, if you take a look at their early games, they can each use Mage Hand, but Lae'zel uses a psionic Mage Hand, and it looks a little bit different too. There are various different races that they have experimented on which now have psionic abilities like them. And it's just really interesting how they have manipulated both themselves and others into being able to unlock this portion of their minds to use these abilities. There's not too much else about psionics, it's just purely brain-powered. The next thing on the list for me is nautiloids. And I was really interested in the nautiloids. They look like large snail shells with some fin of them, and they're constructed normally with those shells and wood. They are something called a space jammer, which is a ship that can travel through the astral seas and they are controlled via magic. And sometimes you can find a nautiloid a nautiloid with 2 shells, which is one of their destroyer classes. And the nautiloid from Baldurs Gate 3 appears to be several times larger than a regular nautiloid, which is normally 30 feet by about 90 feet. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically, the shell of the nautiloid will house the Mindflayer crew right at the center of it, who pilot the whole ship. And then the rest of the ship will be manned by thrall, and you can fit about 35 individual beings per nautiloid before you start having issues with having the right amount of air. It will be anywhere from 5 to 10 mind flayers, and then up to 20 to 25 thralls of various different races. And these ships also contain a few ballistas and a large wooden ram at the front of the ship, as well as a couple different sections for cargo and for their slaves. And then on to the feeding habits of mind flayers. While I was looking up information on this, I found something interesting that I didn't know. That being that when a mind flayer grabs onto a victim, when it wraps its tentacles around the head, it actually injects an enzyme into its victims. And that will begin to dissolve the skin and the bone rather rapidly, which is what allows it access to the brain inside. In a game, when you're playing, this will last a couple of rounds, 6 seconds each. So within 12 to 18 seconds, this enzyme will burn its way into the victim's skull, allowing them access to the brain so they can just suck it straight out. This is fairly typical of their feeding strategy, is just to wrap their tentacles around somebody's head. Parts of the tentacles spread over the skull, and that's where they can just attach their teeth and puncture straight through.
Yummy.
Yeah, it's really fun. I think that pretty much covers the 3 points that I had.
Nice. Okay. Then we can go over to what is different about the Baldurs Gate 3 mind flayers, because there are some differences. One that you already kind of mentioned with the nautiloid that we are on early, or in the first
opening act of the game.
Yeah, opening act. We are on a nautiloid.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to talk about it? Because I know you thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, the nautiloid that we start out on is several times larger than a normal nautiloid, or even their destroyer class nautiloids. While I was looking at the dimensions of the nautiloid, it looks like each individual room that we go into is about 60 to 70 feet across each, And that alone, given a normal ship being 30 by 90, it's already way, way bigger. And there are at least 4 different main rooms when we travel the Nautiloid. And we start in the aft section in the slave area, and we run all the way to the front of the ship and all the way back, and curve around through the giant Nautiloid shell until we finally reach the helm. And every room that we go into is, like I said, almost 70 feet across. And that doesn't even add the additional stuff on the outside where we can walk on these large areas in between. It's got to be almost 100 feet across and maybe 300 to 400 feet in length. It's massive. Absolutely massive. It's the largest Nautiloid that I think has ever been seen, period.
I mean, there's also like a bunch of these capsules that we can see that we also fell out of in one of the rooms. And that means it's even bigger than what we can see.
Oh, absolutely it is. It's definitely geared towards changing a whole lot of people. When we first start and we go search for the key to unlock Shadowheart, if we decide to get her out of there, we can flip some levers and accidentally turn somebody into a mind flayer immediately. This is like a science vessel where they're trying to transform people really quickly, because they're out in the daytime kidnapping people from a city at the beginning of the game, and they don't care if they're seen or not. Normally, they would go under cover of night so nobody would see their ships in the sky, but they just straight out come in full daylight and start kidnapping people immediately.
And in
That is
masses.
very... Yeah. And one of the main differences is like a Nautiloid is normally made out of the shell and wood, but this one is very clearly alive.
Oh yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
even has tentacles.
Yeah, and the Mind Flayer uses those tentacles to even knock the Dragon Rider off of his dragon, which I think is actually the Kithrak.
The what was his name? I don't know. The one that talks to Beretta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. It's like you can even see the scars on his face now.
Oh damn. Yeah, I thought he looked very familiar.
Yeah, it's the same one. He's the guy who got knocked off of his dragon at the start of the game
Oh yeah, who falls from the sky.
and gets caught again on his dragon before they start going through the realms. Yeah.
Being a badass.
Man, if only his dragon had dropped him.
Yeah, right?
And that's another thing too. When I was doing some reading up on the Nautiloids, I found that it is usually the adolescent dragons that Tiamat gives them to ride, the dragon riders.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are like 50 to 60 feet long each. And when they were on the Nautiloid, they were so tiny. Like they're big, but compared to the ship, they required several of them to match the length of it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true, yeah. So it's a huge, massive ship that probably...
The biggest ship that has ever been seen.
Yeah. That is... doesn't look constructed. Looks maybe raised. Very much alive. I mean, we can
Very
even
much.
see like some, fleshy bits being destroyed by a dragon coming in. So I don't know if they found a big Nautiloid like that, or they might have raised it for generations, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. when I was looking up more different things about nautiloids, one of them that I found was instead of a spelljammer, which goes through like the astral sea and whatnot, that maybe this was a life jammer, which is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Spelljammers use spell slots essentially to make the ship move and go through the astral sea, but life jammers will take the life force of a creature and use that for its energy. And when we run through the ship, one of the areas that we come across has 3 thralls who are sitting around this central core area, and we can either kill them, wake them up, and then they attack us, or just do nothing and run on by. But they seem to be like dazed, and they're just sitting there, and it looks like maybe they're giving their life energy to the ship.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know what they were doing there. I thought maybe they're just
They're best.
experimenting on them. But that makes sense, yeah.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
And then there was a little bit about when Liz was talking about them coming through time. When you're actually on the nautiloid, you can find this little thing that has like 1,000 years worth of history for humans and elves and dwarves and everything on the ship, and it just floods your mind.
We can find it in the game?
You can find it on the nautiloid.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, I had given you guys a screenshot of that in my notes from a few weeks ago.
Let me check.
It's way up there. I remember I just gave you a massive dump of stuff.
Just go to the pinned messages.
Is it the No. Is it the crossbreeding? No.
No, hold on, let me just find
Wow,
it.
I really
here.
like there's just a bat and an eggplant emoji the further up you scroll
Yeah.
in our DM. I just want to let y'all know that.
Well, that's for Starian.
That's a Saurian, yeah. Now, let's see here, where is it? It's one of the thinner ones.
I might have
here it is.
scrolled
Okay.
too far.
I found it. Alright, it says 1,000 years of humanoid history, elves, dwarves, humans, and more flash behind your eyes. And that is at a console in the nautiloid ship that you can find.
Damn. I should look around more.
I will just reply to that, so then you can see it here. There you go. And there you can just tap to see the
Found it.
attachment whenever you're ready. Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe this is just me making shit up right now. Because this ship's alive and it's a life jammer, it gets bigger the longer it's been around.
It could.
And so like 1,000 years, sucking the life from different humanoids for 1,000 years, gonna be real big.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it seems like it actually... It being alive, of course it would grow. Feed? I guess?
They've been feeding it a long time then.
Yeah. That's what I mean with like generations. Maybe they had it hidden somewhere. And
yeah, that's one of the things. When you talk to the dead Mindflayer at the Saluna Temple, and it talks about a hole opening up in the sky and nautiloids pouring out of it, that's part of one of their prophecies. And basically, like, anyone who still has the nautiloid potentially would be in this space that they're trying to open up that will allow thousands upon thousands of mind flayers and nautiloid ships to just flush into the realm. There was a portal that they found at one point that went to a future where the Mind Flayer Empire was like doing really well, but it only went one way, so they would send energy and people and whatever else they could to this group of Mind Flayers, and in hopes that one day they could open up a gateway and it could all come flooding back out into the realms.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, oh wow, that's a lot of time travel. But yeah, that makes sense. If they came, from the future, and
to avoid their destruction, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, they're thriving. They have a lot of mind flayers, and they open up the gate, and they're just like pouring into the present.
Yeah.
Then we would have a grand problem.
No, that sounds like how I want to spend my Saturday evenings.
Yeah, just, who doesn't want to have that enzyme on their head having flesh and skull dissolved?
You have enzymes in your saliva right now.
Yeah.
You do.
I'm not making out with a mind flayer.
No, but
some people would pay for that.
True.
When you were talking about that did remind me though, Lena, when you were talking about the mind flayers not having like too much for positive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
If you play as a bard and you talk to a Melum and you do a song for him, he's actually happy.
That's so interesting because he seems like a good, or at least, no, he seems like a good aligned mind flayer.
Yeah, but it's like he actually has a moment of happiness, and you can feel that he's happy. It's like, oh, that's kind of nice. They do feel happiness.
So that's actually a good point to move also into talking about like their eyes, because maybe something changed within them too, or that's why he left them, or is an
exiled or whatever.
Yeah, because he is so different and something might have gone wrong with...
Remember, he thinks that they might be evolving still.
Yeah, they are 100%, because for their eyes, which is very, very, very interesting. So, as I said before, normal mind flayers have solid white eyes, no pupils. The mind flayers in Baldurs Gate 3, they have yellow to even like flamey. They look like flames, kinda like orangey, reds, yellow, bright yellow, I will call them, eyes, and they have pupils.
Yes, they do.
And
they do indeed, yeah. It is kind of weird.
It is. And the thing is, which I also noticed, but I don't know how the tadpoles are normally raised, when we wake up in the like first scene in Baldur's Gate 3, in that cinematic, we see the tadpoles being in like a
brine pool.
Yeah, and it's illuminated. It's really bright in there.
It is. And there's also no elder brain in there, which they're normally
into. That was definitely the most because we know that the tadpoles have to live with the elder brain, like that's where they go, and so it is definitely extremely interesting that the room you start in, which has the pool, there's no elder brain with all the tadpoles.
So maybe. Okay, but that's very wild, and that theory can't be true. But maybe they found a way to switch up the elder brain with the sun, which makes no sense. But like with a light source, with
no, I'm into this. I'm into this. Keep going.
Because it makes no sense with the sun, but I don't know.
It could be exposed to radiant energy for the 10 years that it takes for them to be raised, so they're super resistant.
And they're kind of, or they even took it in, because the fact that their eyes are so different now, just yellow and having, pupils. So definitely something happened to the tadpoles. Either they changed them, or they found out that raising them again in like 10 years in a illuminated tank fundamentally changes their DNA.
Well, that's the thing too, is that mind flayers are on the extreme end of biological science, and time again we see through their experimentation that they can physically alter themselves over time. So it is very likely that one of their groups decided to run an experiment, and this is the outcome of it, is that now they are becoming sun tolerant.
Which we can also see in Astarion, because he
Yeah,
also
as
now
a
is sun
vampire.
tolerant.
Yeah. And it seems like maybe he was grabbed on purpose to see if something like a vampire could also be resistant to the sun with these tadpoles.
Yeah, and then they would also have, like, I don't know how his powers would,
Affect
his mind flayer form. So it's like they would, if he transforms and his powers move or affect his mind flayer form, they would have like an extreme powerful mind flayer.
Yeah.
So
There are also vampire mind flayers as well.
Oh, there.
I
Okay.
found out.
Isn't there like one something somewhere, either that or I'm hallucinating, there's like a vampire who's in charge of a bunch of mind flayers?
Yes, I did have that in my notes.
Interesting.
That would be Dern the Corruptor, who is the king of the mind flayers in the universe of Eberron.
And he's not a mind flayer. Well, they are not a mind flayer.
He is, but he isn't. Like, he has
Oh.
been changed. He has been changed, but he's still very much appearance-wise like a vampire elf-ish kind of person. He has a couple of tentacles, like where his feet are, and he's got a couple of tendrils that come out from his arms, but otherwise he still very much looks like a regular terrestrial being. He doesn't have the face tentacles or anything. He doesn't look like an octopus. He just has some tentacles around him.
Okay. Because, otherwise I would have been like, wow, they listen to him? Like, because they are we are so superior. But that makes sense now. So he is changed.
They respond to change and who can change somebody the most. And an immortal vampire has the ability to change others over time while he stays the same. So he can make the most change in their race in that particular universe.
Very interesting. That is, yeah, I'm for that plot twist to happen and we finding out what actually happened to them and what caused all this change. Because I don't think there's
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. And I don't think there's pretty much more about their physical appearance that changed, but their eyes are so just noticeable different, and they know it because they put it everywhere. In the loading screens and everything.
Like
they're like, hey, look at us.
Yeah. Even in the beginning scenes, it's like bam, and you look in their eyes and it's like, wow, they're yellow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually in the beginning scene when we just see them out in the sun, like huge nautiloid ship, and their eyes that's so strikingly different from how they actually normally behave and are and look.
Nothing about them has been normal as far as Baldur's Gate has been concerned. They have been very abnormal
Yeah.
and very aggressive.
And it would be interesting to see if the Absolute is just one of their wild ideas to dominate the world, or if they are working with someone. Why? Because they are no team players. They feel superior to everyone. They are actually know-it-alls, thinking that their intelligence is more superior than anyone else's. So them working with anyone would have to have to be something extreme for them to do that.
They're being controlled by a beholder.
Yeah, probably. There must be something.
Like, yeah, there definitely has to be something for them to not have just come up with the Absolute on their own.
Well, the Absolute have symbolism of the Dead Three everywhere.
Yeah.
So the Dead Three are assisting them somehow. Now, it could be...
is an
divine
interesting, like, what did the Dead Three offer them or say to them that made them
Well, I mean,
willing
they're
to work together?
quasi godlike beings, so they have a lot of power and influence that they can give them. And they are deeply rooted in Baldur's Gate, and they had a bunch of different cult members there in Baldur's Gate, and they would be giving them a direct route into the city and into the political structure again, which is a thing that they are really into.
Maybe they also promise them to help with one, dominating the world, or opening that portal. However, they
Maybe.
could do that,
True.
but
Could be.
maybe.
I mean, they're the gods of, like, death, murder, and all these other things. So yeah, like, they would dig it, I suppose.
Now that's really, really interesting, because working with them, there must be like a way, way bigger thing that's happening in the background. Because again, Mindflayers don't work with others.
That reminds me, one of the things that I had in my notes was that in the Saluna Temple, when you talk to that Mind Flayer, who's presumably the same one that was killed over by, like, the fishermen at the start of the game, when you, like, find those three people trying to dig the Mind Flayer out.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone, but that particular Mind Flayer, in the area when you're talking to it, that is a shrine to Merkel, because it's got all of the things around it that the Shrine of Merkel has, like all these little blacklit candles and stuff like that. And piles of bones and things of that nature, which is like a shrine to Merkel from the Dead Three, and that's where the Mind Flayer is when you're trying to cast Speak with Dead spell on it.
Who is Merkel? For me and everybody else that doesn't know.
Alright, so Merkel is one of the Dead Three, like Merkel, Ball.
Yeah. Ball, and the other one also starts with the B, doesn't it?
Probably.
So it's a shrine to themselves, in a way.
It's
Or
a
to
shrine
one of
to
them.
one of them. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Like,
And he happens to be the one that took over, like, death.
oh, okay. You have to read into these.
Merkel, Bane, and Ball. That's it.
That's what it was. Yes, Bane. Okay.
And their symbols are different for each of them, but all of their symbols have been present in the absolute. And all of their
So
iconography.
maybe because we hear a voice, right? Maybe that is the elder brain, and the elder brain saying like, these are my chosen. It's not actually that the elder brain chose them, but they are the ones who run this whole party and who make decisions, and like maybe they found a way to play the Mindflayers as they want, but they're hiding behind them. You know what I mean? When you go into the goblin camp and it's like, oh, these 3 are my chosen.
Yeah, but those 3 are definitely not the dead 3, though.
Whoops. It's also 3.
Because they're completely different. They're completely different races. Like, all 3 of them are human, but at least 2 of the chosen are elves.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was a good theory.
If I knew what they were. Thank you.
Maybe each of them is 1 for Ball, 1 for Bane, and 1 for Merkel. That's possible.
Maybe, I mean, okay, they are dead, right?
They ascended, and they are quasi-godlike beings now.
Okay, so maybe those are like their vessels.
As being dead.
Yeah, maybe these 3 are their vessels, or they're literally their chosen, so they have clerics for them, and they like move and plod through these let's say vessels.
Possibly.
Maybe. I mean, it's 3 people. Might be a thing, and I guess we have to have an elder brain with Mindflayers,
I guess,
attached to it.
Not all the time. One of the creatures that they can infect is a dragon with a tadpole, and it becomes it becomes like an elder brain-ish type dragon. And instead of an elder brain, they'll just follow this dragon that they created.
Okay.
Because dragons are already highly intelligent as is, and then they make one into a creature, and it's like, oh hey, we'll follow you.
You're a king now.
It's a rare thing, but it does happen.
Okay, but like if it's rare, then there's some sort of leader, brainish, super intelligent thing that
normally
they like worship.
Normally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what's waiting at Moonrise Towers, maybe?
Possibly. One thing that came to mind when we were talking about the nautiloid is that when we touch the side of the container, it'll like collapse in on itself, but there's still some little tiny tadpoles inside of that container. I don't know if they all died or not, but if they didn't, then that's actually a pretty big problem.
Why? Why is that a problem?
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go into the stuff I sent you earlier again, and I'm going to link you a picture. There's something called a Neolithid, which is like a giant worm, which is basically what the tadpoles eventually
Oh god. Oh god.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like, oh, what, because we know if we mess up with the one tadpole that comes out of Edwin and it can like run away.
That's not the only one.
Yeah, we could because I was like, oh, what might happen with them? It's like, oh no. We're gonna have to fight weird worms.
God, I hope not.
Probably.
Yeah, when you run across the hyenas, like the gnolls.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see one of the tadpoles escaping from the main knoll as well, and you can crush it.
Yes.
You have a chance to crush it.
Oh,
I
It's like if
stepped
you
on
don't
it.
do that, yeah. If you don't do that, hey, guess what? There's another potential Neolithid.
Oh, they're terrifying.
10, 20 years down the line, there's another giant 100+ foot creature that just eats brains and doesn't care who you are, friend or foe.
Yeah, so whatever
friendly.
happens, everything else, everybody else is just screwed.
Yeah. So whenever you run across somebody with a tentacle on their head, or a tadpole rather, crush that thing. If you see it starting to run away, kill it.
Yeah, I never saw another one escape. I have to find the
Yeah, you
knolls
have
and
to
see.
pay attention to it. The one that climbs out of the knoll is huge.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like it's not a tiny little one that came out of the other guy. This one is just huge.
It's a big boy.
Like,
And
it is bigger than your hand.
where was it?
It's the one that
in the
comes out
knolls.
of the knoll leader.
In the knoll leader. Oh, in the knoll leader.
Yeah,
Oh, damn. And Flynn. Okay.
yeah.
Damn.
It
Okay.
is.
So you kill Flynn and then it will just. Okay.
And the
wow.
tadpole comes out of him. Yeah. So going into the Moonrise Towers, you can just imagine how many tadpoles are going to be in people's heads that we need to crush.
Yeah. Oh.
We
should.
So problematic.
We should hire someone for that.
We should
Disgusting.
hire someone for that. They're gonna be like dug underground and we'll never see them again. We
Oh
have
my
to
God.
stop them living there.
Yeah. These are huge.
like-
I hope I can
Just
remember to edit that in
grease
that
the
photo
floor.
because ugh.
Grease the floor, light it on fire. Don't let any of them survive.
No. And I wonder if they have also, if like, because they are altered and we don't just go through Ceramorphosis anymore, and
Yeah.
they will, they have the controls over that. Probably.
And that's the thing too. Like, there's nothing that says that they can't find another host on their own.
Yeah, and maybe their growth is faster,
Stunted.
so we might actually walk into these worms, because I thought you said like 100 years or something like that.
It's 10 years. It's 10 years for a tadpole to mature.
To like that
But-
huge thing.
And it takes
So
a few decades.
it takes longer than
for them to
it takes a few
grow into
decades
a
for
lizard.
that, but it takes
Okay.
like a tadpole 10 years to
To mature.
mature as a tadpole.
Okay. I see. Well, that is terrifying.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's
That
what
looks
we
like
want.
that's my next pet.
Right?
I'm gonna make a druid, and I'm just gonna conquer it. Easy.
I mean, if it's
Nat
if
20
it's
animal
nice,
handling.
that's if it's if you can have it as a pet, that would be nice. But I would be afraid. But if you had that as a pet, no one could do anything against you.
It's like those memes where like the one person is like trying to act all intimidating, but the other person is behind them like cracking their knuckles and flexing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like ha. It reminds me of Pokemon.
And then the
honestly.
little person is like, "Ha, I'm intimidating." The big person is behind them is like, "Yes, you are. You sure are." Yep.
It's the bulldog and the Jack Russell Terrier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. So, do we have any more things that we know are different about these?
Well,
We know that we don't go through Ceramorphosis.
but we can. We know that at the flip of a switch, there is the potential that we could just change immediately.
Yeah. I think we would, actually. but we probably would have to be close to a machine like that.
Maybe. I mean, who says they can't recapture us, right?
Yeah, I mean, they probably have such... I mean, they said they turn everybody in Moonrise Towers, so they probably have, like, a contraption there as well, like the same thing, and they're just, like,
True.
everybody
massively
who's
just
here
press that button.
is a true soul. So everyone who's there probably has a tadpole or has a mark of the absolute, and they are loyal to them. Like, they're just thralls and stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're making... Yeah, they're making thralls, right? Well, maybe they're also...
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're inserting them. They said they're infecting everyone there, too. So it's like,
Right. So
either they're making them
putting
into thralls,
other hands.
or they infect them with tadpoles. And maybe they're just waiting. Like, I don't know if you guys ever played Plague Inc., where you just first infect everyone, and then you make your sickness deadly. It's like this game where
Yeah.
you spread your sickness. Yeah. And I feel like that's what they're doing. First, they infect everyone, and then they're pressing the button, and, like, everybody turns into Mindflayers. Or they...
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, they're putting tadpoles into people, but they're also putting them into objects and things that aren't alive as well.
In objects? Really? I didn't see that.
Like, they're putting them into things that aren't alive. Like, I know that somewhere down the lines, they're putting them in the heads of skeletons. And then they're animating those skeletons.
Interesting.
Now, the skeleton obviously isn't going to turn into a mind flayer, but it's like you're putting it into something that's not alive and giving it life. So, like,
Huh.
there's a lot of different things that they can do with these things.
And we do know that our friend Raphael is really, really, really into them and wants our tadpoles for whatever reason.
For surely no
Well,
malicious reason whatsoever.
Right?
One of the things that they talk about, it's like, you have two tenants in your head, but your soul isn't worth a damn. Your soul isn't worth a damn unless the tadpole is removed.
Right.
So he's more than happy to get rid of it so that he can take your soul and then use the tadpole for whatever.
Yeah,
and
but
that's the thing too. Fiends and demons and devils and stuff are one of the few races that cannot be infected with tadpoles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not until now. No. Maybe.
Well, not at all.
Maybe with the new tadpole. Maybe they're gonna try.
And to that point, I think that's probably why they have Mizora. They want
Mhm.
to test it.
Just
Oh yeah, true. Because they took, like, it's such a vast group of people that, like, even though they're all humanoids with, like, key differences.
Yeah.
And so I think that's taking Mizora, that's a really good point on, like, let's see if it can work now.
yeah. Like, we changed this so much. We aren't even the same race anymore. Let's go. Which I have to say here, which might be spoilerous, so everybody, mute for a second. But I have
Real
heard...
big spoiler alert
Yes,
thing
spoiler.
the big spoiler alert thing, and then once you're done talking, get rid of it so they know to undeafen.
Oh god, I try. Yeah. But...
Spoiler, jump from X to X.
So, people have said that the Baldurs Gate 3 logo actually looks like a Illithid devil
With horns.
skull.
Yes.
Like it
Me
resembles
pulling up the game.
Yeah. It resembles
Yeah, it looks like he's got a couple different sets of horns.
yeah, as if it's a
Oh,
devil.
true though. Yeah.
Let me
So
see if I
maybe
can
the reason why they're with the Dead Three is because they're trying to see if they can affect beings of a divine and fiendish nature, and if they can turn all of those creatures, celestials and fiends are some of the ones that they cannot turn. If they can suddenly turn them, that changes the whole game. And another thing from my notes from earlier is that Mind Flayers became such a problem at one point that it halted the Blood War, which has gone on forever. That's how much of a problem Mind Flayers were.
Wow.
So it makes total sense that in the beginning of the game, they stop fighting each other and go right for the Nautiloid.
Yeah, it might have, like, if they experimented with devils, it makes sense that they're like, okay, no, we need to first get rid of the Mind Flayers and then we can continue fighting. Because, you know.
It also makes sense, like, why Raphael and stuff would be interested in getting rid of the Mind Flayer tadpoles, you know? It's like, hey, we don't like these. Could you please get rid of them for us? Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. So that might be one of their big tries in the game, yeah.
And another interesting thing is they took both Will and Mizura, a patron and the warlock. Like, what happens if she gets turned? Like, how does that affect him? And then he's got the tadpole also that still connects to her. And it's like, there's so much stuff that could happen.
Also,
it's
with
a big
his
experiment.
Eye that's a sending stone, as a Mind Flayer, could she still see through that?
Ooh,
yeah, that's the thing.
Interesting.
We don't know.
Like, and you know, if he doesn't become a Mind Flayer, but she does, like, could she control? The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But it's like, if she disappears because she becomes a Mind Flayer, the contract immediately goes to her father, but then, like, she would still be able to see through him and stuff.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I kind of don't want to save her now and see what happens.
Well, I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah.
It's all speculation at this point.
Of course, but, you know, if we have the chance.
They've
just
got vampires, they've got warlocks, and devil spawns, and a whole bunch of other things. They're really getting a broad palette of people to work with.
Yeah, they're really experimenting. They're getting themselves some lab rats. Seeing where it takes them.
Lots of
That's extremely interesting. Also, that we have a good, like, I feel like Omelium, I don't know. Omelum is a might be a good aligned Mind Flayer. And
well, he's also a deviant because he can use magic.
Yeah. So that would be interesting if we could either recruit him or if we would walk into him again.
I think there's definitely a possibility of running into him again.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's going to be recruitable.
Maybe in Act 2 or something like that. To fight the bad Mind Flayers at the end. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. You can get a ring of mind shielding from him. If you potentially take that in the first act, he could come back in the second act under their control. And then you'd have to fight him.
But I would rather fight him than me being under the control of the Mind Flayers.
True.
I mean, if the ring helps.
I guess it does, because
hard to know.
Didn't he say it helped him?
It helps him, but, like, with our altered tadpoles, like, who knows? Because we can strengthen our tadpoles down in there, that area.
Yeah.
With the mushroom brew and whatnot. It gives us the repulsion power.
Which
If we make the tadpole too strong, the ring might not work.
damn. There's so many. Oh god, I love this game
There's
and I
so
love
much
theorizing about
better.
it. It's so good.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been thinking about playing the bad path, and I'm just thinking about all the people that I can potentially recruit.
Ooh. Ooh, I wanna
I've been
actually
thinking
have
about
like a
Mithara.
yeah,
I've been thinking
Mithara
about
would be cool.
Veer.
Man, I couldn't
I
do it though.
really-
Being mean is not nice.
Of course. That is exactly right. Being mean is not nice.
And that's why I can't do it.
I'm definitely gonna play like I would play my decisions for the first round,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
after that just so
The
many
first
so
time-
many gameplays.
First time, going blind, fuck up in any way you can. Second
God.
time, start narrowing down which path you want to go down.
Yeah, knowing
I'm
what,
just
you
gonna
know.
play as my different D&D characters that I've made for
Oh,
campaigns.
nice.
I've been thinking about doing that too, but like some subclasses, they just haven't and probably won't add, so I'll have to wait for mods for that.
I'm just gonna be myself, which is just a bard. A neutral, chaotic bard. That's what I'm gonna
Oh,
be.
you monster.
Mm. It's fun. Okay, do we think we covered everything?
Well, let's take a look. What else did we have on the docket?
There's nothing on there anymore, but just like
Yeah,
thinking about.
I think that about covers it.
I think so too.
Oh, I see. There was some pertinent things to BG3. Are our characters failed experiments?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think honestly, I think we are not failed. I don't know what happened to the others because
We were interrupted.
yeah, we were
I say we're
interrupted,
definitely
but
experiments, though.
yeah, we are. But I don't know about Gale. I don't know about Astarion. I just know about Lizelle and us. We were interrupted, but I don't know about them or Shadowheart. Right? She was just locked up in there. So it's like, were they interrupted too, or is this just what? I honestly don't know. It doesn't feel like it's a failed attempt.
I mean, in a way it is because we're not mindless.
No, we aren't.
We still have our... Yeah, we have our own sense of personality. We still know who and what we are. We're not being controlled
But-
by them.
Is that because, like, they were interrupted in the middle of their work, and so it wasn't completed? But, like, if
Exactly,
they
yeah.
had completed, it would be mindless? Like,
But the thing is,
Yeah,
like,
it's
why
not
is
completed.
Shadowheart? Why is Astarion? Why is Gale? Why? Because they weren't infected at the same time when the ship was attacked and interrupted. So did they just stop doing that? Or I mean, Priest for Scud as well. They still have their own mind, but they believe
They don't
in the
know that they're
absolute.
infected. Yeah, they don't know that they're infected. We do know we're infected because the process was interrupted early for us, but they feel that they're being blessed by this creature or being God called
Yeah.
the Absolute. They don't understand or know that they have tadpoles in their heads.
The thing is that I also see
They don't actually know.
is like the chance of like meeting our companions, we all being failed experiments, and we all kind of immediately meeting. That doesn't
So
make
this
much
was
sense to me.
done purposefully to further the experiment or something.
I don't know. Because again, for me, I don't I don't know where Gale was. I don't know where Astarion was. We know where Shadowheart is. We know where we are and where Lizelle is. And only Lizelle and we were interrupted. I don't think... Maybe Shadowheart was like fighting so much that they just put the tadpole in and then she was fighting too much, so they just said, screw it, let's put her in this container.
Well, she's been there the longest, I think, out of everyone, because she likely started on the ship.
Yeah,
with
but why
the
didn't
other
they
shark people.
finish? Why didn't they finish the job on her if it's interrupted?
I think they did. Like, they put the thing in her head, and then she was being feisty, so they just threw her in a pod.
Oh, maybe.
But then they locked her up with arcane magic, which was the odd thing, because they don't normally do that.
And maybe something stopped it from working for Gale, because he might, because of his Netherese magic, maybe? And something might have stopped it, like maybe Astarion's vampirism stopped it from working?
We don't even know where on the ship they were.
Yeah, that's the thing. And
True.
they don't seem like they were infected at the same time as we were.
But at least we know that both Astarion and Gale said that they saw us on the ship.
Well, Gale didn't say he saw us on the ship.
Yeah, he did.
I don't think so. I think he just said, "Oh, I saw you in a puddle of blood."
He says that he saw us in a crucible's worth of our own blood with an intellect devourer nibbling at our ears.
But I think that was on the... I don't think
that was on the beach, wasn't it?
That was on the beach, yeah. I don't think that was on the ship.
That wouldn't have been on the beach, because there wouldn't have been an intellect devourer nibbling at our ears.
But
that was on the ship when he was brought in.
But there's like a lot around, I think.
Because we don't know how long we were on the ship. We just know that we woke up and we were being implanted. We don't know when anybody else was grabbed. We could have been there for weeks in stasis. We would have never known.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see, like, why we are so different. Because
I think
that
we were
doesn't...
just lucky, honestly.
But luck seems so chancy. And then meeting also everybody who was lucky at this, like... And we are, like, the only ones left. That just feels very,
The ship crashed. And when we were about to hit the ground, something stopped us from hitting the ground.
Yeah.
It might not be luck. It could be divine influence.
I think, I actually think because these are the people that are around. And if Gay was on the beach, while, like, because they are the brains wandering around on the beach, I feel like he did saw us on the beach, or he saw us like in a vision or something like that, because I still kind of feel like he doesn't have a tadpole, but still, that's my own
true.
But what might have happened, because Tav also keeps saying, I wonder if the gods are watching me, and I think that's foreshadowing, that we were...
Foreshadowing in my video game?
Maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah. I think it was divine intervention, because that feels way too lucky, and all the people that were around, like Lizelle who left us, Shadowheart was around us, Astarion was near the beach, and Gale just where the hell ever he came from, I don't know. He, was there too, and either he has a tadpole or not, who knows, but everybody was like in the same space. And when we fell from the sky and this divine intervention happened, helping us to the ground, it like illuminated our head. So maybe that changed something. But in that same moment, maybe everybody around had like a little bit of a, domino effect, and it just spread to them too. I don't know, but it feels too lucky to just be...
Well, that's the thing. Like, not everybody saw us. All we know for sure is that Gale said he saw us, and Astarion said he saw us. When we talked to Karlak didn't even know that we were on the ship. When we talked to Will didn't know that we were on the ship either until the tadpoles connect. Like, he never saw us. She never saw us.
Yeah.
Only those other two saw us. That's it.
Well,
And
but
then, like, we
Will was
directly-
also on the ship, so everybody kind of just scooted from the beach or the near area.
Whatever area they happened to land in.
Yeah. But I feel like it must have been around somehow. I don't know, but something must have, or everybody was saved, who kind of survived the crash. Because they said search for the survivors, so maybe like a lot of people died. Yeah, you know what? We are the only
I mean, like in a
survivors.
ship crash like that, I would assume a lot of people died.
I feel like
Yeah,
we're
like,
the
when you
only
go-
survivors, so maybe that divine intervention just helped everyone, and then through that divine intervention, something
definitely
changed.
It did not help everyone, because you can find a few dead bodies, and when you talk to them, they tell you, like, there was a big blast, we fell to the ground, the next thing I heard, crunch, and then dead.
Maybe they
And that
weren't
was, like,
affected yet?
Noble. Well, that was one of the noblemen. They were a thrall, I think.
Oh, okay.
And that's what they said. That's what they tell you when you talk to them speak with dead. But, like, another reason why some people survived is because of the pods. Like, the pod by Astarion, it's not broken, but you can tell it's intact. Some of that stuff is built for impact, so I'm not surprised a lot of people survived.
Yeah, Mizora too. I don't
Mizora's
know.
pod was also intact.
There's a weird thing going on. It's definitely not luck, and I think there's something like way bigger happening.
Well, yeah, for sure. There is some divine intervention. Which god, or gods plural, we don't know. But there's something going on.
Yeah, definitely. I think plural gods. There's so many gods, and even
Oh,
like
yeah.
our skelly boyfriend, who we might think could be Jurgle.
Yeah.
Him saying like, "Oh, it is my calling to help you," and I feel like has been probably sent to help us in a way, or he even says that. I think.
Yeah, my Kellenbor, although he doesn't say it directly, he just said he told me that we would be meeting you, and we were directed to help you. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, just like, I give you all my money. And,
I give you money, you give me souls. Thank
yeah,
you.
you give me all the
Perfect.
life.
You know, another character I would like to have in our party?
Which one?
Abdrak.
Yes. Ooh. 50 Shades of Leviathan. We need him.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
I mean, what if you had him
He's a
during
very
the evil
interesting
playthrough? That'd be cool.
character. I don't even think like just an evil playthrough. He isn't evil. He's just like he likes pain a lot.
He's
Right,
just
well,
into
like,
that.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
goddess
I don't kink
Leviathan.
shame.
Like, the goddess Leviathan is like an evil aligned god.
I was so fine. It's gonna
Okay,
be
like,
okay.
Nina's like, and you know what? That's okay.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like
He
she.
could be a companion
doesn't-
in the evil playthrough. That'd be fine.
He doesn't sound that evil, but he just okay. I'm okay. Again, listen, I'm chaotic neutral. I don't really care, but I'm like he would bring so much interesting situations into the party, or just the amounts
if he starts
of
moaning in
like-
the middle of a battle, everyone's gonna stop and go, "What the?"
oh
fuck
my
is
god,
wrong
he's
with
just
that
gonna
guy?"
he's just gonna moan there.
And everybody's gonna be like, okay, well, we were really into this battle, and now we're just uncomfortable.
Oh, he would be so into Lizelle. Oh my god, he would be like, yes, queen,
No,
torture me.
stop.
Yeah, no, he
Oh
would
my
definitely
God.
be there. Yeah,
Oh my god.
Oh.
See that?
I
Ooh,
could
beautiful.
see it.
See, that would bring so much interest.
I gotta go.
I would think
My
it would be
mom's
so
calling.
interesting and funny. And it's just, I want to have mods who mod him into like a companion or something like that.
Oh yeah,
'cause
they
damn,
probably will pretty quick.
that would be so funny. I hope we can like see him again because he runs away.
Yeah,
from
you can see him
the
walking
thing.
out of the town.
Yeah.
Walking out of the place. He's like, well, I'm done with these guys. They kind of, everything here has gone to shit, so I'm just out. Okay, bye.
Goodbye. I'm running now. Bye.
Maybe he'll Baldur's Gate. Maybe he'll become recruitable then.
Ooh, nice. We hope so. In like his
Then
dungeon.
Then he could be.
No, Lena.
He's probably working with the vampires.
He's
He's just like, yes, bite me, Cazador Daddy.
No, I don't think he'd be into that.
Who knows?
But like, I could see him being like a paladin of Leviathan or a cleric of Leviathan. And then you could just like recruit him for that purpose.
That would be so much fun.
I mean,
Honestly.
that's one way
Yeah.
to get a paladin in the party.
Yes.
Because
Oh my
otherwise, the only other paladin that we know about right now is Mithara. Or Mithara, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Like, truly evil. Though she's kind of cute. You know, and she even lets you go. After... I mean, she betrays you and wants to kill you, but then she's like, you know... It's just like,
She just wants to bone you, that's all.
I mean, to each their own.
we don't, you know, if she... I don't know. She wants to kill us afterwards. We don't know how bad we've been. Who knows?
Ah!
Who knows how bad we were? And she's just like, oh my god, I need to cleanse the world. Oh, you can't do that to anybody else.
Well, I know that if you stand her up, she does potentially kill you, so hey.
Yeah. Oh, she's so awful when you stand her up. She, like, makes you... I think she puts the image in your head that she puts acid in your throat or something like that. Or she's choking you, but
that's
really
fun.
bad. And it's so if you know, because I was doing a... I called it my simp challenge, where
Yeah,
I only...
Sorry.
I only had Astarion as my companion. And I was like, oh, nice. Let me, you know, do the Eva route because that's fun. And I was super, you know, set on romancing Astarion, but I was talking to Minthera first. And she makes out in your mind with her, right? And I was like, what the hell is going on here?
And you're like, well, you know, I could be into this if I needed to be.
I don't know. She's like, I don't know. She intimidates
And that's
me.
the thing too. What happens if you're in a romantic relationship with somebody and you're just walking down the road and both of you are just like kicking your head to each other and nobody else knows?
Stop.
Oh my god.
I am all for it.
But yeah, I think we're kind of moving away from the Mindflayer topic.
Yes, yeah,
But
we're
I love
definitely-
this has to be said, and it fits into the evil aligned characters here. So, Laren, if you're hearing us, before the full release, we need Abdurak as our companion, please. Make it happen. Thank you very much.
It would be fun. It would be fun. To
It
have
would
him
be
as the
so much
companion.
fun. I can, oh my
I
god.
can imagine a lot of buffs and debuffs with him would like numb pain or give great amount of pain.
Just imagine the banter between Lizelle, Astarion, and Abdurak. Just
He'd give really good heals, and he would put so much pain on an enemy as a companion. I think it would be
And he would love
really legitimately good.
The only spells he would use are Bane and Bless, and then inflict wounds and cure wounds.
yeah.
That'd
Sounds
be fun.
sounds amazing. Love that.
Blight and contagion.
Oh my god. But yeah. I would say I think we said everything.
Yeah.
I think there isn't much more to add. And I mean, if we find anything else or something is revealed, we can always, say it in another episode. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love doing these. Can't wait for the next one already. But yeah, if you guys know anything else about Mindflayers that we haven't said or mentioned, feel free to just put it in the comments and just write novels there. It's fine. We love reading about the game. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening to us ramble about Baldur's Gate 3. We would do this even if you didn't listen, but it's always more fun with a lot of people, right? Sharing the fun and sharing all the theories and everything, and also hearing from other people. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and until the next one, bye.